Hey guys, welcome to this video. So today we're going to do a 25-minute-ish mobility exercise, kind of daily mobility routine that you can either practice once a day or add in a couple of times during your week. So I hope you enjoy it and let's get on the mat. Okay, so we're going to get started on our backs. We shouldn't need any equipment for this session today unless you want a blanket or a cushion when we come into a tabletop position. So bring yourself down onto your back, bring your knees into your chest, give them a nice big squeeze. You can maybe take a couple of rocks side to side here, just kind of moving the spine, moving the lower back along the floor. And then take hold of your knees with your palms and just start to circle the legs. So just drawing a nice big circle, allowing the hips to move with you here. So don't worry if the pelvis lifts away from the floor. And then we'll go in the other direction. Nice big circles. Okay, then you come back to center. I'm just going to hold on to the right leg with my right hand. I'm going to let the left leg extend all the way down along the mat, and just squeezing that right leg in, finding that sense of compression from the thigh towards the chest. I'm just going to start to mobilize this hip, so I'm just going to hold onto the shin with my right hand. Breathing in, I'm going to open the leg out to the side, and then breathing out, I'm going to come all the way back to center. So just this simple movement. Inhale, the leg moves out to the side. Exhale, the leg comes back to center. And you're only going as far as feels comfortable, so don't go so far over that the left side of the body lifts away from the floor. So just do a couple more of these with the breath, moving into that hip socket, so we're just moving the thigh bone in the hip socket here. Okay, and then when your leg's back to center, you're going to hold onto the back of the thigh, so I'm taking the hands around the back of the thigh. I'm going to send that leg up towards the ceiling, pushing up through the heel, drawing the toes back towards my shin, and then bending the knee and pulling the thigh back in towards the chest. So I'm extending the knee, pushing the heel up, bending the knee, drawing the thigh in. So again, we're just going to keep with this simple movement. Maybe inhale as you extend the leg and exhale as you bend the knee. So just waking up the hamstrings, which are the muscles at the back of the thigh, starting to open up into the legs. And you can take this as deep as feels comfortable. So obviously the closer you keep your thigh in towards your chest as you straighten the leg, the deeper that stretch is going to be in the hamstring. Okay, just last one here. And then we're going to keep the knee bent and take this into a twist. So you're going to take the left hand onto the outside of the knee. I'm just going to draw that leg across the body and come into this twist. Don't worry if the knee doesn't touch the floor. Again, that's where you could slide a blanket or a cushion underneath. Or just let it hover. You can also hook the foot at the back of the other thigh. That might feel comfortable. Take a couple of breaths here. If you've got more space, you might be able to extend the right arm out to the side, or you can just let it rest on the torso. Okay, take a nice deep breath in, and as you breathe out, gently coming all the way back to center. And we're just going to swap legs. So we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. You're going to bring the left leg in. You can extend that right leg down along the mat, just starting by squeezing that thigh in towards the chest, drawing the shin towards me, drawing the knee towards me, and then keeping that thigh pulled in pretty close. Use the left hand. Inhale, draw the leg out towards the side, and then exhale, bring it back to center. And again, inhale out to the side, exhale back to center. And you might notice a difference between right and left side, either more or less mobility. Okay, last couple. Let's make this the last one. Inhale and exhale, and then holding onto the back of the thigh. Inhale to extend the leg, push up through the heel. Exhale, bend the knee and draw the thigh back into the chest. Inhale, lengthen the leg. Exhale, bend the knee. And again, you can moderate the sensation here just so it suits you. As this is the first thing that we're doing in this practice, don't want it to be too intense. So just ease yourself into the practice. Okay, last one. Inhale and exhale. Then we'll take this into our twist. So the right hand this time is going to come to the outer edge of the leg. I'm just going to draw that leg across the body. Again, if you've got the space, open the arm out. If you don't, just let the hand rest on the torso, or you can kind of bend the arm to kind of like a goalpost shape. A couple of breaths here. Nice and heavy through that left leg. Again, sliding any props underneath the leg if it feels comfortable. Okay, and then gently coming all the way back to center. Okay, so we're going to place both feet onto the floor, about hip distance apart. You don't have to be able to touch your heels here, so don't worry about that, but just make sure the legs aren't really, really far away. Bring the palms down towards the floor, coming into a couple of bridge postures here. So press down through the feet. We're going to roll up through the spine, coming up onto the backs of the shoulders, driving the hips up towards the ceiling. And then just gently going to roll all the way back down. So we'll do that a couple of times. Inhale, press through the feet, lift the hips, roll all the way up. Exhale, rolling all the way down. 2 more like that. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Last one, inhale, lift, and let's hold at the top. Make sure you've got space behind you. We're going to reach the arms up and overhead and try to get the backs of the hands to touch the floor. Don't worry if they're hovering a little bit. That will increase in time and you get a little bit more mobility in the shoulders. Now what we're going to do from here is leave the arms where they are. I'm going to roll all the way back down. We get a little bit of a mild stretch through the shoulders. At that point your arms might hover off the floor, so I'm really trying to press the arms down. You're going to do that a couple of times. So leave the arms where they are, press the hips up, come back up into your bridge. And again, rolling the hips all the way back down. 2 more like that. Inhale to lift. Exhale, lower. Last one, inhale to lift. And exhale to lower. And this time let's bring those arms down with us as well. Okay. And then bring the knees into the chest. You're going to come up into a tabletop position. So just gently roll yourself up. And then turn yourself around. This is where you could place a blanket or anything underneath the knees just to give you a little bit of support on the floor. Finding a tabletop position here, so let's have the hands about shoulder distance apart, fingers spread nice and wide. We're going to tuck the toes underneath here, so I've got the toes on the floor. Take an inhale, shift the weight forward towards the fingers, get that stretch, that weight down through the hands. Then exhale, send the weight back towards the heels, so we're getting that nice stretch through the toes and through the feet. Inhale, shifting that weight forward. Exhale, shifting the weight back. So we'll continue with this. Most of the practice today is just going to be repeating each movement a couple of times. So making sure that we still use the breath. So even though this isn't really a traditional yoga practice, your breath really helps you to just get deeper into the posture, deeper into the sequence. Keeps your body nice and active. Okay, so next time that we're back towards the heels, we're just going to hold here. A couple of options for this one. So you could stay where you are with quite a bit of weight in the hands, or you could start to walk the hands a little bit closer in. Maybe the fingertips just kind of rest in front of the knees, or we can sit all the way up onto our shins. I'm just going to bring my feet a little bit closer in towards each other with all the toes tucked underneath, and we're going to breathe here for about 5 rounds of breath. So this is quite an intense stretch for the toes. We've got a big sheet of fascia, the plantar fascia at the bottom of the feet. If we spend a lot of time, particularly in shoes with a bit of a heel, then we tend to create a little bit of tension in the feet. So this is just a really good way of stretching that out. Okay, last couple of breaths here. If you need to bring the weight back onto the hands, then feel free to do so. Okay, and then slowly just bringing the weight forward into your tabletop. Release the toes, give them a little bit of a shake, give them a bit of a tap on the floor. And we'll come straight into our cat-cow. This is a great mobilizing sequence for the spine. So take an inhale, we lift the tailbone, let the belly button drop down towards the floor and lift the heart space, stretching through the front line. And then as we exhale, find the opposite shape. Tailbone draws under, chin draws into the chest, press the mat away with the hands. And inhale, lifting, finding what we call our cow belly. And exhale, rounding. Often call this our angry cat. So just a couple of rounds through this. Inhaling to lift. Exhaling to round. And again, inhaling to lift. Exhaling to round. Maybe noticing which parts of your back, of your spine, have a little bit more or a little bit less mobility. Or if they just feel like they get a bit stuck, let's do one more. Okay, and then we'll come back to kind of a central position. So sort of fairly neutral. We're going to take a twist here. So take an inhale, I'm going to lift the right arm, open the torso. And then as we exhale, I'm just going to feed that arm through that gap. And just as the shoulder taps down, I'm going to inhale and come all the way back up. So taking this into a moving twist. Exhale, feed that arm through. And again, inhale, lift. Exhale, reach the arm through. Let's do one more. Inhale to lift. And exhale to reach. Good. Come back to tabletop. Let's do that on the second side. Inhale, lifting the left arm, open the chest. Exhale, feed that arm through. Twist the body. Inhale, lift, and I'm bending and straightening the right arm to help me here, so don't worry about keeping it locked out. Last one, inhale, and exhale. Okay, and coming back to center, I'm going to come up into a downward dog from here, so keeping the hands where they are, just tucking those toes underneath, lifting the hips all the way up and back. We find our downward facing dog, and we can use our downward dog for many different purposes, maybe to feel a stretch down the back of the leg if we try and drive the heels down towards the mat, or if we take a bit of a bend in the knees, we can really focus on pressing the floor away with the hands and get a deep stretch through the chest and the shoulders. Or you could alternate between those two. We'll just have a little movement here in your down dog, whatever feels good. Okay, take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out. One more deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Okay, bring your hands just a little bit closer together. And I'm going to use my left leg first here. We're going to step forwards into a lizard lunge. So as you inhale, step your left leg onto the outside edge of the left hand. Send the heart space forward, allow the back knee to slightly drop down towards the floor. And then step back into downward dog. We're going to do that another 4 times on that same leg. So stepping forward with the left leg. Drop the hips down, lift the heart space, and then step back, downward dog. And again, stepping forward with the left, hips soften, downward dog. Last 2, stepping forward, hips soften, stepping back. On this last one, we're going to step forward. I'm going to hold here. Take your right hand a little bit wider, so we've almost got the left foot on the outer edge of the mat and the right hand on the outer edge of the mat. Take an inhale, lift the left arm. And I'm going to bring the left hand to my shoulder just to rest it down. I'm going to try and tap the elbow down towards the floor 5 times. So I'm going to bring the elbow down as far as I can. I'm going to lift back up into that twist. That's 1, and down for 2, and up, and 3, and up. And I am bending my right elbow a little bit here to help. 4, and up. Last one. 5, and up. And release the left hand back down towards the floor. Let's find downward dog. We'll do that on the second side. So again, bring your hands a bit closer together. Inhale, stepping the right leg forward onto the outer edge of the left hand, right hand, sorry, and then drop the hips down, reach the chest space forward, and then step back into downward dog. 4 more on that side, stepping forward with the right, hips soften, stepping back. And again, forward, and back. Last 2, forward, and back. Last one, stepping forward, and then send your left arm or your left hand out to the edge of the mat. Take a twist, lift the right arm, and then let the right hand just rest on that right shoulder. As we exhale, we're going to try and bring that right elbow down towards the floor, and then twist. Let's go for another 4, and lift, and 3, and lift, and 2, and lift. Last one, down, and lifting. Okay, this time, keep your right foot where it is, bring your right hand down. You're going to step forward into a deep squat position. So step your left foot nice and wide, bend into the knees, maybe turn the feet out and the knees out a little bit. We bring the hips down towards the floor. You could slide props underneath your hips if you need a little bit more height, or you might find that you're in this kind of hovering position. You're just trying to get that movement through the thighs. I'm just going to turn around here so I'm facing towards you, but you can stay facing the top of your mat. And I'm going to place the hands to the heart space and the elbows on the inner edges of the knees. If it feels okay for you, you could add a little sway side to side here. If that doesn't feel good for your knees for whatever reason, then just stay a little bit more static. Okay, so we'll be here for another 2 breaths. Slow, steady inhales, slow, steady exhales. Okay, so from here, I'm going to come into a forward fold. So send the hands forward, shift the weight forward, lift the hips, straighten the legs. We can keep the feet where they are. Take a breath in here. And then as we breathe out, bending the knees and coming back into that Malasana. We're going to do that 4 more times. So folding forward, lifting the hips, bending the knees, sending the hips down, lifting the arms. And again, folding forward, lifting the hips, and bending the knees, and all the way up. Great. And again, folding forwards, and then bending the knees. Let's do that one more time, folding forwards. Let's hold here. Let's bring our feet a little bit closer together, maybe the toes point forward towards the top of the mat. Let that body drop down. Feel free to have a little soft bend in those knees. Maybe you want to catch hold of your elbows and sway your torso side to side a little bit. Okay, and then we'll slowly roll all the way up to standing from here. So just bend the knees, allow the head and the shoulders to be nice and heavy, and rolling, and the shoulders roll up back and down. Okay, so I'm going to come into a little bit of a windmill movement here. So I'm going to take the legs a little bit wider than shoulder distance. Take the arms out to the side. Have a soft bend in the knees here. I'm going to reach my left arm up and over. Folding forward, bending at the knees, body hangs down, and then coming all the way back up. So I'm just doing a circular motion with the torso. Really trying to get as big as I can through those arms. Let's go one more in this direction. And then when we get to the top, just going to swap. So going the other way around. Making sure you bend your knees as you fold forward just to help to stretch into the lower back. So we can round through that spine. Good, last one on our way up. I'm going to stop here. Okay, so and then turn the feet out, so pointing a little bit more to the diagonal. You make sure that they're wider than your shoulders and wider than your hips. Bend the knees and come down into your squat position. So knees are going out to the sides, make sure the knees don't collapse in, so squeeze through those legs. Take an inhale, straighten the legs, lift the arms. Exhale, bend the knees. 5 of these. Inhale for 1, and down. And up for 2, and down. And 3, and down. And 4, and down. Last one, 5, and down. Let's hold here. I'm going to bring the hands down onto the legs with the thumbs kind of resting in. I'm just going to drop the right shoulder in and kind of use the heel of that hand to push that leg away. A little twist towards the back or the front edge of the mat, depending on which way you're facing. And then swap to the other side, so I'm pushing the left shoulder down, pushing the heel of the hand into the inner thigh to really drop down through those hips. Great, and then coming all the way back to center. I'm going to start to move through some side lunges here. So bring yourself up a little bit higher. We're going to start to shift side to side, and I'll gradually kind of build up the intensity of this. So this is kind of stage 1. Maybe the hands are on the hips. I'm just shifting side to side, and the feet are staying in contact with the floor. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you could bring the hands down and get a little bit lower into the legs. Just kind of working your way side to side. You might start to then lift the toes of that extended leg, or even coming all the way down into kind of what we call a Skandasana. It's kind of like half of our deep squat with one leg. Good, so just shifting side to side. Using the hands if you want to. You can absolutely do this with no hands and work through a little bit more power through the legs. Good. Last couple. Okay. And then coming back to center when you're ready. You're going to find a downward dog. So if you turn your body towards whatever is the top end of your mat, and then step your feet back, find your downward facing dog. Okay, I'm going to come into a pigeon pose from here and do a little bit of hip mobility. So for that, let's bring the right knee forward, place it behind the back of the right wrist, and I'm bringing the shin onto the floor. I'm just going to place the back thigh down and then the top of the foot down. So just stay for a few breaths here in this, stretch, and then I'll add in an option for a little mobility exercise. So you could stay on your hands here, you could come down onto the elbows or onto the forearms. We're looking for a stretch in the outer right hip, in the glute, maybe the back of the thigh. I want you to try and avoid having any pain or any sensation really at all in the kneecap. If you are feeling that, then you're just going to sit a little bit more onto your hip and take a gentler variation. Okay, so for those of you who are happy here and you just want to hang out in this stretch, feel free to do so. Otherwise, we're going to bring ourselves up onto our hands, and then we try and do this sequence without using the hands to help us. So we're going to just sit on the right hand side, sit on the right hip, left leg's going to swing around, push the heel forward, and you can just bring the hands to the heart space so you're not encouraged to use them. And then reversing that, legs then come all the way around. Use the toes to help you rotate your chest towards the top of the mat again. We'll do that 2 more times. So shifting round, left leg comes round, both hips find the floor. I'm going to rotate back. I drive my toes into the floor and that helps me turn my chest back. Last one. Coming all the way around. Left leg comes forward. Coming all the way back. Toes find the floor and turning back. Great, and then bring the hands down. Slide that right leg out from underneath you. Give it a little shake. Maybe come into a downward dog. I'm just going to go on the second side. Give the legs a little shake, whatever you need. Okay, and then for our pigeon on our left, let's bring our left knee forwards to the back of the left wrist and just kind of slide that back thigh down along the floor. We'll spend the first couple of breaths here in sort of stillness, so that could be on your hands or down on your elbows. Remembering we want the stretch in the outer hip and the thigh and definitely not the knee. So about 5 breaths here. Okay, last couple of breaths. If you're happy to stay where you are, then you can just stay in this stiller version of your pigeon pose. If you want to try that mobility exercise, you're going to come back up onto your hands and then sit onto your left hip, swing that right leg around, push the heel forward, let's bring the hands to the heart space, and then reversing that, kicking it back, drive the toes into the mat to help you turn yourself back. And again, shifting forward, right leg comes out, and shifting back into your pigeon. Good, one more. Rotating, leg comes forward, and then comes all the way back. Great, and then bring the hands down towards the floor. And then come through to seated. So just swing both of your legs around this time and find yourself in a seated position. We'll take a shoulder stretch here. So I'm gonna bring the hands behind, fingertips pointing towards the hips. Bring your feet onto the floor, they don't have to be super close towards you, so just wherever's comfortable. And just start by pressing into the palms, puff up the chest, and kind of draw the elbows in towards each other. So again, a bit of stretch through the forearms, through the biceps, and then also across the chest space. Okay, and then if this is enough for you, you can stay. Second option is just to gently lift the hips a little bit away from the floor, and then slide them forward towards your heels, and either leave them there or pop them back down. So we're creating more distance between our hips and our hands. And you could even start to bend the elbows a little bit here, increasing the stretch in the chest. That might decrease the stretch in the wrists. So if you want more in the wrists, then you're going to keep the arms straight. We're going to be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. If you had the hips forward, just bring them all the way back. Bring the hands out in front of you, give them a nice little shake. Okay, so before we come down for a quick relaxation, just bring the soles of the feet together. Holding onto the ankles or holding onto the feet. Let's start to take nice big circles. So just drawing that body in that big circle. Great, and then going in the opposite direction, nice big circular motion, moving into the hips. Okay, and then either staying in this Baddha Konasana shape, or you could just come to kind of like a regular cross-legged position. You're going to take the hands to an interlace, bring them behind the head, let the chin drop down in towards the chest, and then let their elbows collapse in towards each other. Now we're placing a gentle amount of pressure on the back of the head. And then I also want you to press the head back up into the hands, so we get maybe a mild stretch through the cervical spine and the top of the back. Just a couple of breaths here. Okay, and then gently releasing, bringing the arms all the way back down. Okay, so we're going to take ourselves down onto our backs. I'll offer you one option here for a pose to finish. Now that could be either with a blanket, it could be with a yoga brick or a cushion. I'm just going to make a little platform. So if you've got a brick, it's obviously already in the shape you need it. If you've got a blanket, you're just going to fold it up quite a few times so you've got a thick platform. And then we're going to come down onto our backs. We're going to slide whatever we're using, whether that's a cushion, a blanket or a brick, underneath the pelvis to just give us a little bit of elevation. I'm just going to straighten the legs down along the mat. And either let the hands rest on the belly or take them up and overhead for that kind of cactus shape. And our prop here is just acting as a little bit of elevation to give us a very mild sense of stretch through the psoas, through the hip flexors, and through the belly as well. And we'll just be here for about 5 or 6 breaths. So feel free to close the eyes. Okay, last couple of breaths here. Okay, if you feel comfortable where you are and you want to take the last minute of our practice just to rest here with the prop still underneath you, then feel free to do so. Otherwise, we can just remove that prop and come to lie down, just kind of flat on our back, maybe bring the hands to the belly, and just take a few breaths here to finish the practice. If you have the time to stay longer, then by all means, you can pause this video and stay for a little bit longer if you need. Okay, and then just start to wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers. Take a breath in, take a nice big full body stretch. And as you breathe out, bring those knees back into the chest, give them a nice big squeeze. And then just take your time and bring yourself back up into a comfortable seat and roll yourself back up. So thanks very much for joining me for this video. So it's more of a mobility video. I'd highly recommend trying to practice this either once a day or a couple of times a week, depending on how much other activity you're doing. If you've got any questions or anything, just feel free to let me know. Have a good week. Thank you very much, guys.